very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. Today happens to be the 20th day of May. You know what today means for those of you who run businesses here in this country? VAT. Value added tax. Yes, sir. Today is the day when you're going to chip in and make your contribution towards the development of this nation as we continue our quest for good governance. Let's hope that those contributions are going to be used for the good of this country and for the way they were intended. Pilgrims, welcome to Gudday Grenada. Thanks for joining us this morning. Another full house for you. Actually, I say full house sort of tongue-in-cheek because I have nobody coming in here to sit this morning. Nobody. But that doesn't mean we don't have a lot of content for you. Here are some of the things we're going to take a look at this morning. For those of you out there already on Facebook and taking a look at the rundown, you see that there's something there titled World Economic Program on Education in Finland. I think that should read World Economic Forum on Education in Finland. That's a mini piece, just about a little over a minute long, and we'll tell you what that's about in a wee bit. But then, one of the things that's been making the rounds big time on Facebook over the weekend, former Attorney General calls on PM, the Prime Minister, to have some decency and integrity. Whoa! What's that about? Isn't it ironic that as I mentioned that to you, there's a siren going by out here? I'm not sure. It's probably an ambulance. Anyhow, again, we're going to keep you in suspense for just a couple of minutes, and you'll find out what that's about for those of you who have not yet seen it, because I know that a lot of you do hang out on Facebook. We also have for you the National Report, which was issued on Friday night. And finally, those of you who were with us yesterday have already seen this. We had a discussion about noise pollution, which sort of evolved into a discussion on the Royal Grenada Police Force. It was interesting. And this morning I'm just going to bring you an excerpt. We're not going to play the whole thing for you, but we're going to bring you an excerpt of that discussion. Okay? So that's what I meant when I said to you that we have a lot lined up for you this morning. Before I get started, I see that there's some early risers out there. Marvelous Monday. Yeah, so says Benedict. Benedict always has an adjective to describe the day of the week. T.F. Richards still hasn't learned how to spell morning. He says good morning. Family. Hasn't learned how to spell family either. TF, we excuse you. And that's why we look forward to seeing you show up here every day. Thank you, sir. Hey, Max. I got a little story to tell you about Max. Bernard Gilbert's also checking in, and John says, good morning, George, and all of those on board the good ship, Gudday Grenada. Hey, I like that. We should name a ship, one of these days all of us get together, go up to the Grenadines and hang out for a little while. On the way up, we could stop in at Carriacou and say hi to John. Hey, how about that? If he's a good boy, we'll also allow him to step on board and, take him along with us. And then John goes on to say the gremlins will be at work if you hit the nerve. Yeah, John boy. Over the past week, we've had some of those. Kipling's also sending his blessings to everybody, and TF wife says, Lord Mags, what did you do? Boy, I think you guys would be so impressed with what she has done. Huh? Yeah. Hang on just a little bit longer and you'll find out. Now, this past week, we talked a bit about education here in Grenada. And this morning, I'd like to share with you a minute-long video which was produced by the World Economic Forum. And this is about education in Finland. We're a long way from attaining that level, but it's not too early to start aiming at getting there. Let me warn you, you're going to have to do some reading, okay? You're not going to hear some music, but this is not a spoken word piece. You have to read what's on the screen. But it's just a little over a minute long, so watch carefully. Wouldn't that be the day when we attain that level here in Grenada? Ah, man, oh man, oh man. Dream on, dream on. By the way, we've now been joined by Nashan Noel saying good day, George, and Chester sending us greetings from Switzerland. Now, yeah, the following piece is written by former Attorney General Cajetan Hood and is self-explanatory. It is captioned, "Have some decency and integrity, Mr. Prime Minister." Pilgrims, let me quote. "I was shocked to read some statements by the Honorable Prime Minister, which were made in an address to the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and I believe that I need to defend my professional integrity and competence since they appear to be under attack by the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Mitchell. True to form, and in keeping with his style of never accepting responsibility for the results of his own deeds or misdeeds, he now attempts to blame members of the Ministry of Legal Affairs over the last few years for the government of Grenada's indebtedness to claimants. I am now forced to respond. I was personally approached and offered the post of Attorney General by the current Prime Minister shortly after the conclusion of the parliamentary elections in 2013. I wish to state categorically that I never applied for the post, and I only agreed after being asked for the third time by Dr. Mitchell. I entered into a 4-year contract with the government of Grenada, commencing on or about April 4th, 2013. In the year 2017, I was asked to extend my contract for another 6 months, as I had indicated to the Prime Minister that I wished to return to my private practice to lend support to my son, who had been called to the Grenada Bar in October of 2014. During the period of my tenure, the quality of my work was not called into question by the government of Grenada. There were occasions when the results of court matters had been questioned, and the appropriate responses were always promptly given. I hesitate to go into details about these matters because, in my view, they form part of lawyer-client privilege. I challenge the Honorable Prime Minister to waive that privilege and allow me to fully respond to this cowardly and unfair attack on me. It is a documented fact that the said Dr. Mitchell, the Honorable Prime Minister, has repeatedly announced on several occasions during my tenure as Attorney General that my appointment had been reported to him in general to be the best appointment that he had made since returning to the leadership of Grenada in 2013. Mr. Prime Minister, if you'll allow me to, I will be only too happy to give the details of some of those occasions and to jog your now failing memory accordingly. Sir, I challenge you to present to the public the details of the sums outstanding to claimants that you are complaining about. In most, if not all of these cases, the sums have been awarded due to clear excesses and breaches of law against citizens of our dear nation that have been committed by your administration or previous administrations. In fact, there are some judgments that are unpaid in which I appeared for the claimants before I became Attorney General. I recall a claim for Eddie Frederick and one of several police officers who were denied promotion, in which they alleged interference by you, the Honorable Prime Minister. For the benefit of objective comment and conclusion, I urge any neutral interested person to consult the current governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, who was the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance in Grenada during most of my tenure, to ascertain the role that my office and I played in the homegrown structural adjustment program, which the Honorable Prime Minister boasts about, and whose results he now seems to always seek to hide behind. The current head of the Financial Intelligence Unit can reveal, if he's pressed and chooses to respond, facts about the remarkable progress and advancement we made as a country in the areas of money laundering and counter-terrorist financing under the CFATF regime from the year 2013 and onwards. The records are there for objective review, and as Grenadians, we need to refuse to listen to these statements that are made out of political expedience and are meant to distract and divert citizens from the truth of the matters regarding the manner in which our dear country is being governed. In each and every matter concerning the state, which was decided by the courts during my tenure as Attorney General, if the Prime Minister allows me to give the full details, I can show the nation the real reason why the state did not achieve success. Prime Minister, it is cowardly and despicable to accuse persons who you know cannot defend themselves. You are literally punching me while my hands are tied behind my back. I challenge you to loosen my hands and then let us have a fair fight. I speak on behalf of the past Solicitor General, Dwight Hosford, and the hard-working Crown Counsels in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, who spent many sleepless nights, weekends, and holidays trying to find ways to defend the decisions of this administration. The Honorable Prime Minister seems to forget that the current Attorney General was Solicitor General when he became Prime Minister in 2013. In fact, it is the current Attorney General who led the matter of the government's acquisition of the interest of friend and party member Wilberforce Nyack in the property on Grandance Beach, which is now designated as the location for Part 2 of the Silver Sands Hotel project. If allowed, I will reveal the reason why the Prime Minister refused to renew his contract and the most likely reason why he has made him Attorney General at present and now sings his praises, attempting to use him to get at myself and Dwight Hosford, who is now serving as Attorney General in the British colony of Anguilla. Chief, this will not work. If you wish for a battle with me, then I'm up for it. And if you untie my hands, I can speak up fully and publicly about the salary deduction and pension and other issues also. I will not be made a political scapegoat. I will not be used as one uses adult Pampers. Tell the truth, Honorable Prime Minister. And that, my dear friends, is signed Anthony Cajetan K. Hood, Attorney General, 2013 to 2017. Whew! 18 minutes after the hour. Boy, I bet that one has a lot of you scratching your heads out there, and I don't know how much time you've had to respond to it, but let me take a look here on social media and see what's going on. T.F. Richards, and by the way, folks, I hope you took your time to do your posting, because I haven't read these before. I'm just reading them sort of clean here. T.F. Richards says, "Isn't that amazing? School is optional after 16 years, but 90% do." He's referring to that the first piece we played from the World Economic Forum. He goes on to say here, "From the time I heard Keith's utterances at the meeting with the ministry, I said to myself, Lord have mercy. It's more persons under the bus. This guy is really in his last days politically. And as such, he's looking to be the good guy." So says TF. Irvin Samuel is saying good morning to everybody and sending God's continuous blessings. Agatha Jordan. Hello, Agatha. How are you? She says, hope you had a blessed weekend. Indeed, girl, I had a really nice weekend. Relaxing. Busy day yesterday. I don't get Sundays off like you guys. I don't have a day off. But I'm thankful because I always seem to have the strength to pull through. John says, that's some PM legacy to leave with. And yet corruption still goes on and on. And Agatha says here, I'm scratching my head, George. Yes. Kipling Francis says, I do wish Mr. Hood doesn't turn out to be like Terry. He's referring to Terry Forster there, okay? All right, folks. Whoa. Yeah. Coming up next, today's presentation of Friday's edition of the National Report.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
My name is Jennifer James, and I've been making confectionaries for the past 7 years. Growing up as a little girl, I always wanted to make these little things. Fudge, sugar cake, tamarind ball, these little things. I read something actually, and it said that tamarind itself is very good because it eliminates fat from the liver. You get the mature tamarind and you crack it, you shell it out. I would add a little baking soda, some spices. I would leave it to rest probably for about 2 hours and then add my sugar and just start kneading. Growing up as a little girl, I usually knead it hard enough so that I can roll sugar cake. When I finish rolling it, I will paste it with the actual white or brown sugar. And you have a nice tamarind ball. I have been providing food fare with tamarind ball about 6 years now. I started producing tamarind ball to sell for the school children. I thought I could advance somewhere. So I went to food fair and I asked one of the sales persons there if they would be interested in selling my tamarind ball. And she told me yes. She told me to bring 20 packets to start with. It was really a joy for me because I wanted to extend on my little business. My name is Jennifer James and I work with the food fair to provide you with tamarind balls.
Alrighty, folks. Yeah. Here we go. It's turning into a sort of normal Monday morning. First of all, we've been joined by Benedict Gador, who's asking the question here. The Attorney General works on behalf of the government and therefore the country. Is there a way for the people of Grenada to untie Mr. Hood's hands? Now, there's also a note from John. John, let me see. Earlier on, John said here, hold on a minute. John said, the gremlins will be at work if you hit a nerve, Gigi. Well, he's now saying the gremlins are late to work this morning, but they are now in office. Facebook has shut down. Yes, folks. I'm glad that you noticed. Keep posting, please, because one, when I do the program, any program that I do, I don't generally monitor Facebook. I generally monitor the website. But I noticed that the feed to the website has been on and off, on and off. Just remember what happened yesterday? Huh? On and off, okay? And then I decided, well, let me switch from the website over to Facebook. And I noticed that the same thing was happening. Well, yesterday, there's certain people like Mags in New York, Clive out there in Ajax in Canada, who said that their stream was perfect. And look. You don't believe me? Here's a note that's just come in from Margaret. She's saying, don't know, guys. My stream is perfect. Margaret is in New York. She's having a perfect stream. Okay? For some reason, mysteriously, we're having the same issues. Benedict Cador is saying mine is fine too, and I'm assuming that Benedict is somewhere in North America, if I'm not mistaken, New York or wherever. Peter Bishop says having the same issues on Facebook. Yeah, Pedro, but thing is, Pedro is also in New York. So what's going on? Agatha Jordan says, I'm getting you loud and clear in Carriacou, fingers crossed. Aggie, I hope it keeps on that way. Please keep monitoring and let us know. John says, just us down here, Margaret. Ah, boy, let me tell you, it's just a mystery what's happening. Just a mystery, because now I'm on Facebook here, not the Grenada Broadcast website. I'm on Facebook, and there's nothing, nada, on Facebook. Hang on a sec here. Chester's in Switzerland. He says his stream is fine. Peter Bishop says, I'm in New York too, but having issues. Margaret says, yeah, I think so. Hold on. Anyway, folks, I'll tell you what. We're not going to waste any time. Let's just go right on, because we're going to put this up on Facebook once the program's over anyway. And later on, it's also going to be up there on YouTube. Okay? So right now, let us just saunter on to the National Report.
Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell says rum distillery project is revolutionary. Details of this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Friday, May 17th. I am Sherry Ann Noel. Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell has described the Renegade Rum Distillery project in St. Andrew as transformational. Touring the project site on Thursday and learning of its various dimensions, the various aspects of it, Dr. Mitchell said it is revolutionary in every sense. The hour-long tour highlighted the structure of the building, work on the installation of equipment, and employment opportunities for young people.
Coming here today and seeing this expansive activity taking place and the level of what is going to be the end product is something that is so special. It gives Grenada, it's another way of promoting this country, because the special product that you're producing will of course be shown internationally, and that of course will be shown as in Grenada. And given the labeling you just mentioned, the fact that you're having the rum with the product cane coming from different parts of the country, is certainly a big marketing tool that you are undertaking.
Grenada's latest rum distillery is the brainchild of project developer Mark Reiner, who is the CEO of Renegade Rum. The project, where we produce premium rum from locally grown sugarcane, is considered a game changer in the industry. The Prime Minister lauded the project for its significant impact on the agriculture industry and the rural economy.
This is a real formula that demonstrated marriage and the importance of it for the country's development, and of course impact on our export earnings, impact on economic activity in the country as a whole, and of course so all the things that are coming, the ancillary activities with this Pearls area, this section of the country, historically used to be agriculture estate. The estate is gone, and the estate gone, many of it have been cut up into small pieces. A lot of opportunity for job potential were lost, and with that the poverty increases in that in the area. I know the parliamentary representative must be extremely happy. The pressure on her would be lifted considerably so, because a lot of people will be doing different things. A lot of shops, a lot of other business activities will in fact have started being emerging already, and you will see more and more.
Once the distillery is operational, it is anticipated that about 3 acres of sugarcane will be harvested daily to facilitate production. In facilitating Thursday's tour, Graham Williams said most of the equipment for the project is already on island, and within the next few weeks they will be installed, bringing the project closer to completion. 25 Grenadians have already been employed by the distillery, and 60 others are currently employed in the construction phase of the project. More than 1,940 students from 72 schools across Grenada culminated their CPEA exams on Friday, looking forward to attending secondary school when the new term begins in September. Exam began in 52 exam centers on Thursday, May 16th, and culminated today, Friday, May 17th. These centers included the St. Andrew's Methodist School, which successfully hosted its students, despite having experienced infrastructural issues at the start of the Trinity term. Details from Annette Moore.
The CPA examinations commenced at 9 a.m. and ended at 12:15 p.m. on each exam day. CPEA is open to students who are 11 years old by September of the year in which they sit the exam. The test consists of multiple choice papers in the areas of mathematics, language arts, science, and social studies, with each section lasting 75 minutes.
We had a very good year of administrating the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment. Generally, I think this year was one of the smoothest run exam that I have seen for a long time.
The deputy principal at the St. Andrew's Methodist School was pleased with the turnout and smooth run of events on both days.
So far we have gone very well. All our students turned out for the exam. They were very excited. They settled well into the hall, and so far everything went well. Some of the parents came in, they were here, we had a little assembly before they went in, they were also part of the assembly.
I'm really happy for the students at that school, I'm happy for the teachers, I'm really happy for the principal and for everybody, the parents themselves, because I know we had that concern prior to and wondering what will happen. We had no hiccups there. I think the children were quite settled.
We are expecting 100% passes. Also, we are expecting some of our students to do pretty well. They should be in the top 100. We should have some positions there.
At Woburn Methodist, several students were confident about their overall performance.
It was very great for me because I've been studying for the past 2 years for this day, and it is just a very big accomplishment for me. In terms of the science paper, I think that it might be a little bit challenging, but I've been studying so I think it might be not too much challenging for me. It will be pretty much easy.
I felt shy at the first day, but I wasn't shy. God was with me, and the social studies was kind of hard in a way, but God helped me to do it. So I've been studying maths. I don't really study social studies. So I hope I do well.
I find the maths was kind of challenging, but I find the social studies was very easy. Like the children last year said, they say it was very hard, but I don't find it was very hard for me. I find the language was so very easy, but the first section would tangle me up. I want to tell other children good luck in the exam.
And I would like to attend presentation Brothers College. And yesterday of the CPA paper it was great, but I didn't expect it to be so easy or expecting it to be challenging. But as my mother said, don't say easy, say try. and I tried to do it my best. So I just want to thank Miss Fraser, Miss Frank Charles, and my parents for encouraging me to do good and stay focused at all times.
I am confident, and I thank my teacher for preparing me for this day, all the test papers he has given us. I want to go to GBSS or I want to go to PBC.
It was quite interesting. It was easier than I expected it to be, but I have a lot of faith in what I am doing, so it's okay.
It's good. I think they give us too much time because it takes way too long to finish. The papers aren't that hard. They're very easy. I expected something a little bit more difficult because most of the stuff that we got in the paper, we've done it already. The maths was easier. It was the easiest for me.
The Deputy Chief Education Officer for Exams also thanked all the administrators, coordinators, proctors, and others involved in the efficient and successful execution of the exam.
I really want to extend a special thank you to all of the principals, especially
I think they give us too much
allowed
time.
us to have other centers, other schools in their school. On behalf of the Ministry of Education, especially the examinations unit, I really want to extend a special thank you to everyone who supported us through the administration of this exam in 2019. I also want to say all the best to the students. I'm confident that we're going to get some good results come 2019.
For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The world's debt is 184 trillion US dollars. That's about 86,000 US dollars per person. Join Linda Tessar, the Central Bank of Barbados 2019 Distinguished Visiting Fellow for the 6th edition of the Caribbean Economic Forum, as she helps us understand just how in a world of rising debt, we in the Caribbean can stay afloat. Follow this important live broadcast of the 6th Caribbean Economic Forum on social media and on radio and television in Barbados and across the region, Thursday, May 23rd at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. in Jamaica. Visit www.centralbank.org.bb for more information.
More employment opportunities for Grenadians as Renegade Rum Distillery gets ready to begin operations in September. Close to 30 Grenadians will secure permanent employment with the company, which promises to brew and bottle premium rum. More than 200 people are currently employed with the company in construction and cane production. Boilers, tanks, mills and other equipment are already on site to be installed to commence operation. The sod was turned in August 2018 to mark the start of construction on factory located at Conference St. Andrew. Head distiller Devon Date says permanent employment will be available at the factory and at Cane Co.
They're planting more and more cane. Other than that, there are some jobs in the day-to-day operations of the company that we hope to contract. Things like landscaping, maintenance, cleaning maintenance, and those sort of a thing. So all in all, it is looking pretty good. And as I say, the 25 people, young people are on staff, 140 plus in Kenco.
He says among the employed are 4 female qualified biotechnicians.
A young team of staff already, permanent employers already. We employ people to be process operators. The process operators will be the person actually going through the plant, testing different parameters as they relate to wastewater treatment, the cleaning processes, the yeast treatment, the fermentation and so. We also have the boiler operators on staff already working with the company that we bought the boiler from and they're installing it. We have the mill operators here already also. And we have the maintenance team here already. And we have the distillers. One thing, the distillers will be working here basically to do the distill products and controlling the quality and efficiency of the product that we think we intend to produce. We could boast and say that we have an all-female distillation team. It's the first of its kind. Most times you hear about a distiller and it's men in the job.
Parliamentary Representative for St. Andrew North East, Honorable Keith Lewis, is pleased with the economic activities brewing in her constituency. She highlighted the upgraded road network and establishment of small businesses as a result of the construction of the factory.
What is good for us in the constituency is the level of development that is taking place, and it's bringing about the benefits for our people. We have direct benefits, we have the indirect benefits. If on your way here, you would have seen the expansion of the road structure, the drain construction, and so you see the amount of businesses, the small businesses that were established as a result of this project. The number of persons who got employed in the construction phase, as well as who are employed now with Kenco. I'm just happy for this level of investment in St. Andrew Notice.
In recent weeks, Kenco placed an advertisement on social media for vacant positions. Officials say hundreds of applications are currently on file. The interview process will commence soon. And with this, we come to the end of the National Report for Friday, May 17th, 2019. I am Sharian Noel, thanking you for viewing.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it. Friday's edition of the National Report from the GIS. Now, actually, I'm not sure if it's because of the issues we're having this morning, but the only comments I see here about the actual newscast are from T.F. Richards. T.F. says, and he's talking about that piece they did on the distillery, he says, promoting Grenada via rum again. Is that all we're good for? Then he goes on to say, how is it a game changer when we have River Antoine still producing rum the same way? We can really say things to make people feel good. To which Benedict Cador responds by saying, I don't think there is an issue with Grenada producing rum and exporting it. There is a market for alcohol, and there is nothing wrong with taking advantage of that. Now, that's it as far as the GIS report is concerned, okay? However, just let me get back here. Benedict Cador explains that he's in Georgia, okay? Chester says his stream out there is fine. Peter Bishop is in New York, but he says he's having issues. Val McLeod says, I'm in St. Kitts and getting you very good on Facebook. Good for you, Val. John says, they think we don't know what's going on. Dimwits. Patsy Emmons says, I'm in Atlanta. Loud and clear, George. And then Glenna Knights comes up and says, just went off. Sorry, Glenna. John says, funny that the GIS doesn't get interrupted. Jorge Murillo, yippies, said. Hacked once more? I don't know, boys. I don't know. Boys and girls, I don't know. Anyhow, quarter to the hour. I mentioned a little while ago, I don't want to forget this. I mentioned a little while ago that I had to tell you something about mags. You know, a lot of people are very preoccupied with work and family and stuff like that. But more and more, I find that people are taking opportunities to learn new things. As we get older, I think it's important that we keep learning new things. And my good friend, Mags, is doing just that. Mags has decided she's going to educate herself. And I hope that some of you will adopt this effortless posture. Mags has discovered a piece of software which you install on your laptop or your desktop, your Mac, whatever. It's called Adobe Audition. It's software for editing audio. I have a lot of these different little software packages from Adobe Premiere for editing, LumaVision for editing, something called Procreate for doing graphics and stuff like that, GarageBand for making music, all of that on your iPad, your desktop, your laptop, whatever. And it's fun. It keeps the mind alert. And yesterday, good old Mags sent me her first finished product. It was a 30-second video. Yeah. And I sat here last night, man, in stitches. It's amazing. In just a few short days, it's amazing how familiar she has become with this little software package. You can buy it online, just download that online and play around. Make music, make videos, all sorts of stuff. Graphics. You can design graphics. A lot of the t-shirts you see people running around with, the designs are actually done on things like iPads and so on and so forth. Okay? So, Mags, thank you very much for being such a good example to our little group here. And I hope some of them will take it up. Okay, folks, another quick break. And then we'll come back with the excerpt from yesterday's program with Superintendent Vinnie Kerwin.
Mouth Open Story Jump Out comes to Brooklyn and Washington, D.C., featuring the humor and storytelling of Ricardo Kings Douglas.
They say she comes all the way up here to Toronto to shop for cosmetics and go back down.
Roll back the years in Brooklyn with Lord Nelson.
Okay.
Also in the Brooklyn
Mags, thank you
concert, Quick USA. And in Washington, Diane and
very
friends,
much for
and
being such a
Julian
good
Moore.
example
Washington, D.C.,
to
Saturday,
our
June
little
8th,
group
and
here.
Father's Day, Sunday, June 16th in Brooklyn at the Tropical Reflection Ballroom on 4501 Glenwood Road from 6 p.m. It's the perfect Father's Day treat. Tickets $30 in advance. Available at Eventbrite and popular outlets. Or call 347-350-4285 in Brooklyn and 240-460-0442 in Washington, D.C., Maryland. Special guest, the Mighty Sparrow, will be joined by cultural ambassadors and preservationists to be recognized with New York State proclamations. They include Lord Nelson, Derek Vento, Heron Rockin' J. Douglas, Gentle Benjamin, Lambert, and the Matadors, and the Quick USA Cultural Organization. Additionally, 2 lucky patrons will get to stay free at the award-winning Blue Horizons Garden Resort in Grenada for 3 nights, including breakfast and a dinner at La Belle Creole Restaurant, sponsored by Tropical Reflection Ballroom, Blue Horizon Gardens Resort, The Penny Firm, Caribbean Times Newspaper, Dr. Derek Lezama, Century 21 Achievers Realty, Attorney Glenroy George, The Otley Law Firm, and Funk Media NYC. Washington, D.C., Saturday, June 8th, and Brooklyn, Father's Day. Mouth Open, Story Jump Out.
Boy, you, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, you can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks. Alrighty. There's a note here now from Irvin Samuel saying, apparently there's some interference with your broadcast, George. I can't get to comment while listening. It seems to be one or the other. Irvin, please accept our apologies. It's really not us, but we have our suspicions. We really do. This has happened just over and over and over again. We had it several times last week. We had it big time yesterday. We're having it again this morning, okay? We know what's going on. We understand what's going on, so accept our apologies. Now, our program's going to run a little bit over time this morning, and the reason for that is that we've had these interruptions which have slowed us down a little bit, but I do believe it's important enough that you hear this next piece. A conversation which I had with Police Superintendent Vinnie Kerwin yesterday began with the state of noise pollution in Grenada, but it quickly evolved into a discussion about the state of the Royal Grenada Police Force. This morning, please allow me to share an excerpt from that discussion with a gentleman whose honesty really impressed me. Superintendent Vinnie Kerwin. The reason why I asked you here, one night this past week, you were on Beyond the Headlines.
Oh, yes, it was.
And unfortunately, sir, I only tuned in at the very end. I wanted to call in because I saw that you were talking about noise.
Yeah.
You probably know that years ago I was involved in this noise movement. I started an organization called Citizens Against Noise. Super, since we got the legislation, which was about 10 years ago.
It's almost 13 now.
It's almost 13.
2006.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
September 2006.
He's keeping track. Superintendent, thank you. 10, I thought it was 10. Superintendent, is the noise problem any better off today than it was?
I think it has gotten worse. Enforcement have stepped up a bit, but a lot more that could be done. As is the case with the ministry, as we've been hearing, resources are limited in every aspect of the word, but we are doing what we can do. We have put systems in place. We are streamlining what we do. We do keep a check on people operating without permission. But it doesn't matter what you do from a law enforcement point of view. There are going to be people who are going to try to violate what is in place. And we have had some successes in, keeping with the legislation. And we continue to work. It's going to be a tedious time for us now as we approach Carnival. This is the time of the year when, we have several complaints of noise and noise pollution. And at this particular time, it's difficult. It's difficult not from a police perspective, but it's also difficult from the legislative perspective. There are some anomalies, if I can say that kind of hinders the effectiveness of executing that particular legislation, particularly when it comes to Carnival. During the year, we are very effective. There is a little loophole in that law that gives us a little headache during the Carnival season.
Which is, can you share that with us?
The Act says in part that, and that is something I really didn't want to go in, George, because of, I don't want to send the wrong signal or the wrong message out there, but the Act says in part that it does not apply to noise made during the Carnival period.
Yeah, and that is not all, Superintendent, I'm not going to ask you to elaborate on that, but Superintendent, when we put together the legislation, we spent 5 years putting this thing together, 5 years. And one of the things we thought would be necessary would be the use of noise meters, okay? However, Uh, the commissioner at the time, the attorney general, the solicitor general, it was a team of about 5 of us working on this thing. And they all insisted that rather than using noise meters, we should operate on something called the test of reasonableness. Okay, I think the legislation makes
Speaks of that, yes.
We didn't see how that could work. When I say we, I mean Citizens Against Noise and a lot of people in the general public and me. Because, Super, look, what may be reasonable to me is a pain in the behind to you, Super. Huh?
It is. And I don't think it is objective enough, and you made the point. It's always going to be a subjective test. Because, as you rightfully said, what is reasonable to me might not be reasonable to you. And so what the legislation seeks to do is to take that away from you and I and put it into the domain of the court and have the court make that determination as to what is reasonable. Looking at quite a number of factors, some of which I probably can talk about here at this particular time. It says in part that the court in determining noise would balance the rights and the interests of the individual against those of the community. And there are a number of points under that particular section, section 4. One of the points is the desirability for cultural and social development. So the act is saying that in determining what is reasonable, the court should consider the desirability for cultural and social development. So in fact, the act is saying the court can allow some level of noise if that noise is geared towards cultural and social development. That's one. 2, it speaks of the pursuit of just economic reward for labor. So if my lifestyle or what I do for a living creates a certain amount of noise, the court will have to weigh the fact that I am disturbing my neighbors as against me making a living and create or find a balance.
Even though in the name of social development.
Even in the name of social development, yes. And point number 3 is the tradition for particular localities. The act is saying if there's a particular locality that is prone to a certain degree or certain type of noise, the court in determining the reasonableness here should consider that. And there are a number of other factors that are under that, one of which is also the rights of privacy of family life and every individual to peacefully enjoyment of his home and immediate surrounding. So there has to be a balancing act between what the community desires and what an individual in the confine of his home is entitled to. And that is purely a decision that the court has to make.
Then I'm sorry. Sorry, sir, but we have a problem there. Ian Blakey on Facebook is asking a couple of questions here. Who issues licenses permitting places of entertainment to make noise? By what criteria? I am kept awake every month by the moonlight party at Woburn. Residents were never consulted. I also have complaints. So even though, we dropped can, we gave up because we just felt that the legislation was not being implemented. So we gave up. But up to now, people have a headache with noise, call Judge Grant. And they keep calling me. So there's a problem down by the airport. A beach down there, I don't remember the name of the beach.
Concrete Strip, Magazine Beach.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Super, answer this gentleman for me, please.
The police officer, the commissioner of police is responsible for granting licenses for public entertainment where noise is concerned and noise will be made. It's unfortunate though because some years ago when I was in charge of the South St. George police station, before these permits or before these licenses are issued, I was always consulted as to the location, the person wanting to put the event on, the views of the community, and it is, we always go there and do a few interviews trying to find out how does that noise affect you. Obviously, there are going to be people who would say that I am affected. But then you have to look at the greater good. You have to look at the need for cultural development and entertainment as opposed to the need for, the enjoyment of your home and the privacy. Because if you don't have this balancing act, there will be no public entertainment. So you have to accommodate public entertainment, but it must be done with a degree of reason and consideration for both the promoter of the show or the event and the community in which that event is going to be held. There has to be that balancing act.
Superintendent, yes. You cannot stall community development and social development. But are you aware, sir, that noise, excessive noise, is also a health hazard?
Well, it is. In fact, I've done this program several times, and I've always stressed the point that excessive noise does adversely affect your general health. In fact, there are a number of studies that points and support that particular theory. That is true.
So why don't we include that? You know, you mentioned in the name of social development and cultural development. What about health? Add that there.
Unfortunately, it's not in the legislation. Maybe that's an amendment that should be considered, you know, and I think we should also get to the point of the control of the noise, because permission might be granted to you to have a particular function, but how do we measure the level of the noise emitted from your equipment? Noise is measured in decibels.
Yes, sir.
We don't have that, you know, we don't have the luxury of having, you know, that equipment to do that. So that is why the reasonableness is in the legislation and not the instrument to measure the noise.
Superintendent, I'm going to make you regret bringing that up. Superintendent, this thing about the level of noise, very valid point, sir, very valid point. When I asked of the police, why didn't you want to use noise meters and say, okay, the level, acceptable level, 90 decibels. I'm just using that as an arbitrary figure. When I asked them, why didn't they want to do that? They said, well, you know, we're going to have to go out and buy noise meters, and, you know, we're operating with limited resources. Super, I understand that. Police as broke as me. Superintendent, we went out. We went out and started running around to corporate sponsors in this country. Get our few penny halfpenny. And we went out and we bought noise meters and gave to the Royal Grenada Police Force. They ain't bother with us. And you know what is so ironic now? I think it was a year or two ago. I heard a police being asked, why is it that they do not use noise meters? Why is it that they're not enforcing the legislation? And he says, it's because the legislation needs to be changed. We need noise meters. You know, when I heard this, sir, I wanted to regurgitate, because we went and begged for money, sir, and gave it to them. We didn't give them the money, we gave them the noise meters. Turn thumbs down on us.
It was a very good gesture on you and your organization part to do that, but to give effect to the noise meter, the legislation had to include it. So even with the presence of the noise meters, without the legislative framework, it would have been useless.
Absolutely.
Would have been useless.
How long now we've been talking about the need for changes in the legislation? And
changes, particularly now, you know, are encouraging, because it makes enforcement of the legislation easier. When you go to the scene of a complaint and music is playing, to you, the police officer, because we're speaking here about reasonableness, reasonability, to you, the police officer, that noise may not be loud at all, but the citizens are complaining that it's a nuisance to them. But if we leave it on reasonability and the police officer doesn't think it is loud, then we have a problem. So it should not be left to the subjective mind of the individual. It should be left to some sort of device or equipment that measures the sound and have an acceptable level by which these noise can be, is tolerated. That would be the general way of giving effect to that legislation. That's my personal view.
Personal view, fine. Hey, I support you. I keep calling you commissioner. Are you going to be the next commissioner?
In any job you're in, you have to aspire to the ultimate. And I wouldn't say that I do not have those aspirations. I do have those aspirations.
Superintendent, so can I assume that there's hope, or can I ask you to spearhead a movement to get some changes in the legislation? You know the problem is out there. And Superintendent, it's been said that one of the reasons why the situation is not getting better, at the top of the program, you actually said it's getting worse. Superintendent, it's because we haven't held a few people accountable. You don't have to go and pick up everybody in this country. Just make a few examples of people, sir,
But I know we have arrested a few people. We have taken.
You have?
Yeah, we have taken a few equipment because the law gives us the authority to confiscate the equipment if you're being warned of noise.
I know the law does that, but
Right.
have people been charged?
And I know in fact, we have done that, yes.
You have charged?
I have been prior to now, I've been head of prosecution for about 20 years.
Okay.
So, I do have personal knowledge of some of these things that are.
Well, let me tell you, I'm glad to hear that. Let
Yeah.
me look into the eyes of my viewers right here, because up to, I think it was sometime last year, a certain leading attorney in this place told me that we've had this legislation for 10 years, and nobody has been charged.
And that is not true.
So it's,
I can vouch that I do know personally that we have charged a few people. We have had a few musical equipment confiscated, and at the end of the proceeding, it's up to the magistrate to decide what happens to those musical equipment, whether or not they are given back to the individual or whether or not they are forfeited to the state. But fortunately, the few cases that I know of, we have given it back to the individuals.
well, perhaps it's time, Superintendent, to make some noise about the fact that you've charged a few people.
Yeah, well, we are in the process now of doing that. Our media relations arm of the police force is growing and developing, and we are going to be putting a lot more of what we do out into the public, because by and large we do a lot. There's a lot more that can be done, but we are doing a lot. But I don't think the public is hearing sufficiently what the police is doing, and so going forward, in fact, that happens to be under my portfolio now as head of Community Relations Department. We are now going to be sensitizing the public a lot of what we do, because we need that partnership. But if you don't know what one partner is doing, how do you know where and when you can help that partner? And so we're going to be putting a lot more of what we do out into the public.
Oh boy, that's a whole story, and something I really want to talk to you about. Really want to talk to you about, because I too am concerned about the PR of the police department. The PR is one thing. Superintendent, while those of you in authority, the people who carry the weight, may be well-intentioned, the quality of people you have on the ground out there and supposedly enforcing the law makes a big difference, sir.
Well, that is true.
Because you may be well-intentioned. There's some kids wearing police uniforms out there. Superintendent, these guys don't have a clue what they're supposed to be doing. And to them, I ride bus almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
When I sit down on a bus at the bus terminal downtown, sir, and I hear somebody go by with a car blasting to hell all over St. George's, and the police walking around, that man violating the law.
And George, the behavior for police officers is not for want or lack of training. I am in some way involved.
I agree.
I am in some way involved in the training school and, in some of these programs. So it's not for lack or want of training. But I think what is important here is holding people accountable for failing to do what they've been paid to do. And this is something that our new commissioner is focusing very heavily on. Shared responsibility, accountability. Police officers have to do what they've been paid to do. And and he has a phrase that he uses a lot, policing by avoidance. That's one of his strong phases. And he is getting us, the senior officers, to drill down more and focus a lot more on police officers who, police by avoidance. There's a very point that you're making. You see things and you turn a blind eye to it. But at the end of the day, at the end of the month, you collect a paycheck. We have a duty and we've been paid by the citizens of the country. And we are here to serve the citizens of the country. And if police officers are not doing what they've been paid to do, we want to know about it. And in fact, the department that I now head is the department that is also responsible for investigating the conduct of police officers. So I urge the public, if you have an issue with a police officer or police officers not doing their job or not living up to the professional expectation of the force, we want to know about it. We want to be able to give the public some sort of satisfaction that we are doing all we can to ensure our force remain relevant, remain professional, and that we can engage with the public in the manner that they expect us to.
Superintendent, you ever heard the term nip it in the bud?
Yeah.
Superintendent, maybe this is one of the things you should include. Screening. Not everybody's cut out to a police. There are people out there looking for a walk. They want a job. If I had to wear a uniform to get money to put bread on the table, yeah, that's what I do. But Superintendent, you're an experienced cop. You know, it takes a certain breed of person to enforce the law.
But I'll tell you one of the problems we have with that, George. And I do know we do extensive screening. We do biometric testing, we do psychological testing. In fact, yeah, we do more screening now than was done when I came into the force almost 34 years ago. Back then, we did not have those kind of screening. But one of the problems that I think we are encountering is the fact that our police officers are coming from our society. And if you look at our society now, you know, there is this degeneration, you know, of values and attitudes, and that's where they're coming from. I mean, we are 110,000. So we cannot create the type of policeman or policewoman we want outside of the 110,000. And I think that's one of our problems. One of our problems is that our moral values have been decayed. We're seeing a general lack, disrespect for law and order, you know, and I think that's one of the problems that we're facing.
Part of the disrespect we're seeing for law and order is because of what we are seeing coming from those who are supposed to be enforcing the law and order.
Yeah, and on that front, as I indicated, we want to address this. And the population see a lot of these things before we do. And sometimes we are the senior tier of the force. We don't see a lot of these things. You out there, the police officers are out there, they're on the beat, they're in the street. And as I said in another forum, sometimes instead of getting on social media and highlighting the negatives, it might be easier to pick the phone up and call my office, call my department, call somebody in the senior tier and make a complaint so that we can address it directly. See, if you don't tell us, don't assume that we always know. If you don't tell us, don't assume that we see. You see, there are things that we do and we see, and we address those that we do and see. But those that we don't, we want to hear about it. If you see it as a member of the public, please feel free, call the Community Relations Department, 440-3764, make a complaint. And 444-1958, this is our anonymous line, where you're not required to give your identity. But just tell us what you see, what you know. Give us an opportunity to address the ills, the anomalies, and all of the negatives that we've been accused of. We want to be able to say we know about it and we have done something. But unless you play your part as a member of the public, sometimes it's not important to criticize because you're part of it. You know, and I'm going to say you, George, I'm not speaking about you, the individual, you know. Yeah. You see it, you know it's happening, you're aware of it, but you refuse to do or say anything about it. But tomorrow you're on social media talking about A, B, and C of the police force, which is negative. But you have not taken the opportunity to complain, to share the information that you have, giving us an opportunity to address it. If you do, and we failed, then you have all the right to criticize, all the right to your social media expose and everything else.
Super. Somebody here named Arthur Langine is asking for your number again. Give that number again.
It's 440-3764. 440-3764, and it's the Community Relations Department. We are located just on the foot of the fort, the first building on the left-hand side going up. That's where we are. And we address, and we are the department that is responsible for investigating complaints against police officers, whether it's unprofessional conduct, whether it's a crime, anything at all that is unbecoming of a police officer. We want an opportunity to clean out, to weed out, to streamline what we do. I quite agree with you. There's a lot of police officers who don't live up to the expectations. Do we know about it? Some we do. And currently I can say that we are taking some actions currently.
You just raised a point there I want to take you up on. It's about social media, because you're right on the money, sir. Sir, social media is a phenomenal medium. Mm-hmm. I use it, okay? But there are some people, rather, like you just said, rather than come speak to you, they go blah, 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 blah on social media, okay? Some, sir, because they're naive, they just don't realize what they're doing. Superintendent, some of them do it maliciously.
That is true.
To embarrass people.
That is true. Because I do not want to speak of any specific issue here, but that point you make, I do know of a few incidents that we have addressed. And I have seen it appear on social media after. And I know for a fact that the owner of the post knows differently. The owner of the post has the correct information, but for whatever reason, you see it on social media and you have to ask yourself, was that the person I've just dealt with? Was that the person in the conversation, in the conflict? So I think you're very correct. People have the individual agendas, and I don't think there is anything stopping them from doing what they want to do that is malicious.
Well, I got some more good news for you, Soup. You're going to walk out of here smiling today. Somebody named John Crow Alexander, he was on this program a few weeks ago. He is in New York. He says, I'm available as a media consultant for the police department. What are you laughing at?
No, I'm just happy to know that somebody's willing to offer their services to help us improve.
He says, police do not want to be seen as bad police. Give me your email address, please. About letter writing. I wrote, but have not gotten a response. You see, again, something like that reflects badly on the police. But it is not necessarily, I'm not defending the police, it's not necessarily the police. Somebody may be sitting on the letter there.
Could be. Or the other question is whether or not he had the right address or the right email address. Those two could be factors. Because, it's going to beat me that somebody would write and offer their services and wouldn't have a response from us. So I don't know of his letter, so I do not want to comment on whether or not, he had a response or didn't have one, because I have no knowledge of that.
So, John Crow, what do you want? You want his, he says, give me your email address.
And I can do that on air because that's not a problem. My last name is Kerwin, spelled Curwen, the number 32, and at hotmail.com. So it's Kerwin32 at hotmail.com.
Kerwin32
at hotmail.com. And it's spelled C-U-R as in run, W-E-N.
Look at something here again. You see, there we go. Esther Morgan. Police officers are in the rum shop drinking rum with uniforms on.
Yeah, and that is unacceptable. Not only drinking rum is acceptable, but eating and drinking in the uniform, just simple like that, is unacceptable. That's against our regulation, much less to be drinking alcoholic beverages while in uniform. We have been taught that in training school. I know every police officer is aware of that, but you will always find the bad apples. You will always find those who discredit, those of us who, wanting to keep the SPD go as high as we can. Again, let us know. We want to know who our police officers are who are discrediting the organization.
All right. Superintendent, there's another old saying. Rome, Arthur Langayan says, I just called the number 440-3764. I got no answer.
Well, he wouldn't get an answer. This office doesn't open on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay. This office is Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. And we are there very early before 8 o'clock and sometimes way past 4 o'clock on Monday to Friday.
All right.
Today's Sunday, so it's closed.
All right. Superintendent, I'm really enjoying this. I could sit and talk to you until about 5 o'clock, but I'm starting to get hungry too. So let me tell you this. Superintendent, there's an old saying, Rome was not built in a day, okay? I'm not asking you guys to perform miracles. But earlier on in this conversation, I got the feeling that, you're newly heading up a department, and I'm hopeful we could see a little change, sir? Just a little bit at a time, and we'll get there. But, sir, if people cannot see any sort of change whatsoever after you said what you said here, then they look to the top. And it's the top they're going to hold accountable, sir.
That is true. That is true, and that's why at every level of the force, we have to do what we have to do to ensure our leadership, the strategic plans and the strategic intention of the force is carried out. It's not going to be carried out by the executive, it's going to be carried out by the people under the executive, including myself and those at that level. And that is the reason why I said, we want to know what's happening, so that we don't only make our executive look good, but we make our force look good. We make our country look good in the eyes of the international community. We have been credited for various good deeds. I mean, we have one of the lowest crime rate in the Caribbean. We boast of that. But a lot of that didn't happen because of, quote unquote, the goodness or the strength or the professionalism of the police officer alone. It is also credited to the cooperation we have been having with the public. And so I stress on this program here the need for deepened and heightened cooperation to be able to get us where we need to go and become more safe and more secure as a destination of choice.
Wow. Wow. Superintendent Vinnie Kerwin of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Pilgrims, keep an eye on that gentleman. I believe he has an awful lot to offer the RGPF. And yes, we all have a lot of complaints about the force, but please, take his advice. Do what he's asked, and we just may get to the next level. Okay? Time to pull the curtain down this morning. We're going to leave you with an inspirational word. 3 verses, 23, 24, and 25 from Luke chapter 9. Then he said to them all, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self?" Luke chapter 9, verses 23 to 25. On that note, my dear friends, Georgie Porgy's going to pull the curtain down, say thank you very much for joining me on this Monday morning. I certainly hope you have a great week ahead of you. And I've been in touch with 3 persons, 3 technical people over the past few minutes, trying to pinpoint this issue. We have our ideas, but I'll tell you, the longest rope has an end. We shall overcome. Georgie Porgy gone. He's had breakfast already, so he's not going to say he's going to feed his face. Hey, Sharon, thanks a lot for joining us. Sharon says here, Fanny is one of the best. Fanny? I thought you probably mean Vinny. Whatever. Good to see you, Sharon. Folks, God bless you. Come join us again tomorrow. See if there's been any improvement.